Murderous Revelations is the sophomore full-length album from Turkish death metal band Diabolizer. They made themselves pretty well known with their first record. They've been around for a long time. They put out an EP back in, like, I think 2012 or 2013 or so, and it was brutal. These are folks that are known for brutal death metal band Decaying Purity, but also Burial, Invocation, and Engulfed. And those bands came maybe around the same time. I think Burial Invocation was a couple years earlier. Nowadays, we know some of these folks also play in Hyperdontia, so you can expect riffs from anything they do. And their first record was pretty clearly just all about the riffs. It was far more brutal than I'd expected. I think it was on Everlasting Spew, and it was just a real hammer of a record. And while a lot of people compare that sound to Vomitory, for me, it's more like mid-90s Sinister, kind of Hate era, that kind of sound. And I think that translates a little bit better as we move on to their second record, which is a similar sound, very much a similar attack, but they're doing a little bit more in terms of some blackened guitar moments. They're leaning into the kind of Polish death metal aggression of things. We'll get an example of that right here in a clip, and then I'll talk a little bit more about where this record goes and how much I liked it. So I'm a huge fan of all things Vader, but especially the kind of pre-2005 era of the band, and stuff like Revelations and whatnot. If you're a fan of that kind of riff craft and the way that they use that movement, and not so much the drumming on those records, especially not Litany, but this record has some of that spirit in it. It's got a thrashing, aggressive, and sometimes blackened attack to it that makes this sound even more brutal than it typically would be. It makes this record sound like a late 90s death metal record overall. And so as a follow-up to Chalcedonian Death, this record, it's Murderous Revelations is more of an attack. It is a little bit tighter, it's a little bit readied up, but it exaggerates in ways that are more exciting. And I think for me, it's a riff record. Obviously, coming from these guys, it's going to sound very much guitar directed and full-on attack most all of the time. But they do kind of veer out of pace a few times just to work in a catchier riff, a black metal moment, or something that is just a little bit more doomed than you'd expect after the first album. That's just for the sake of variation. It is essentially iteration upon what they already had pretty solid on the last record. So no real complaints here. There's no huge revelation to talk about here in terms of the actual review. If you're a fan of stuff like the early Monstrosity, Sinister, Vomitory, and all associated bands from these guys, you know to expect quality from all the production values as well as the performance. Like brilliantly professional, still underground death metal, very well played, plenty of solos. There isn't anything that just kind of sucks about this record. There's no downside to picking it up and giving it a spin. That's what I would expect from these folks, and that's what I got. So I was really happy with that. That's a high recommendation for me. Solid death metal record, no real complaints. I don't know how long it'll last on my shelf, but it's the riffs are still hitting at this point. So check it out for yourself. Again, that's a high recommendation. This released on April 11th, so go ahead and read my written review for more of my thoughts in depth, and check it out.
Is alive,